just being that spokesperson for your community. Again, we're targeting to your local area. So that is something that will build a lot of familiarity and a lot of trust, especially if they're seeing you say it directly. Be very in tune with your community. It's something Facebook recommends. We are just going to go over some best practices and basically some guidelines that Facebook themselves give us. We're coming at this from the mindset of whatever Facebook says, it's all coming from the horse's mouth. This is exactly what we want to be doing. These are the kind of practices that will be rewarded in their algorithms. Not trying to outsmart Facebook or anything. We're just playing by the rules. This is a few short things that you can do for your content to give you a little more guidance, know what to look for a little bit more. It's all laid out pretty easily. This link is something that we can share in the Facebook page, or if you have a request for it, just reach out to us at info@adtraffic.com. But yeah, these are some really, really great posting habits, posting tips that could, maybe take your content to the next level. So the few things that they really hound home, they want you to tell a story about your business. So really start to create that narrative. When we talk about branding, this is kind of what it's all about. We want to create a narrative. We want to make people feel like they know you, kind of know where you're coming from. People don't like to do business with strangers. So telling your business story is a really, really great idea. The next thing that they want you to do is engage with your audience. And so this can be calls to action of any kind. You could put up 2 homes, basically say, hey, who likes this kitchen more? Who likes this kitchen more? Ask people to engage with you and your content. And as we'll see in just a bit, Facebook does want you to really, really be direct when you're trying to do that. And then the last thing is just connect with new customers. So this is something that really we are doing in the back end. This is not something you really have to actively think about. We are constantly getting you new customers and then retargeting people who have already shown an affinity for you, already have proven to like your content. So this is something that we do, but it does not hurt to speak to new customers. So their whole kind of mindset here is they use the 3 E's. So it is engage, educate, and excite. Something pretty simple to remember. So how we would engage is, again, yes, sharing the story of your business, and then maybe showing how you give back to the community. Last week, we talked a little bit about the Noonans and how they make those business posts, and they'll go out to different businesses within their communities and say, hey, this is what this person does. It's not even really real estate related. They'll say, hey, this person makes donuts. This is how they got started. This is what brought them to this place, why they enjoy making donuts or whatever that business may be. And people like to see what's familiar. So we are targeting your specific area, your specific geographic market. If you go to a business, odds are a lot of people that we're targeting are going to be familiar with that. And again, people like what's familiar to them. And then taking people on a virtual tour of your business using photos or videos. And I will show an example of this in just a second, but this is something that if you're ever scrolling through Reels or on TikTok, anything like that, this trendy thing right now is to go around to your office and ask every employee in your office a question. So you could say, now, what new listing came on the market today, or something completely random that doesn't necessarily have to do even with real estate. So the video I'll show you is they go around and say, what did you drive to work? They work at a dealership, so it makes a little more sense, but you can have fun with that. It's a fun way to show people kind of what happens behind the scenes. And again, we're just familiarizing your audiences with your office and kind of the inner working. That's engage. Educate is something that's very, very important. So explain what makes your product or service different or special. So this really for you mortgage people out there, this is very important. Every one of you have something different to offer. And realtors too is the exact same thing. But when you're talking about products or programs or anything like that, the mortgage professionals, you guys do have a lot of differentiation when it comes to what you can do, what your products are, and kind of how they fit your market. And then again, they really want you to take people behind the scenes at your store or business and then show people how to use your product or service. This is kind of talking more about, if I had a flower shop, show people how to use your product or whatever it may be. But when you're talking about real estate, you're kind of wanting to take people into the homes you're selling, make people envision what it would be like to live there. Or if somebody's a new home buyer and you're a mortgage person, you might show them how this new home buyer program could get them into a house that maybe they didn't think they were able to get into. Real world demonstrations, you really want to make people feel like, hey, this is something I can see myself doing. You're putting the client into basically the shoes of a buyer, a hypothetical buyer, so they can maybe envision themselves walking into their new home or getting approved for a loan. That's kind of how you would educate somebody about your product. And then the last thing that they want you to do is excite. So share promotions or sales. Everybody in the real estate world has got some kind of promotion or sale at some point. For your mortgage people, again, announce a new product or service, share your promotions or sales, and engage in topics that matter to you and your community. This again can come back to going to different businesses, talking about something, locally that's happening. When we're trying to become the digital mayor of our area, what we really want to do is become, the steward for that area. So if a new park is going in downtown, we want to be the person that people come to for information. And so really just, stay very in tune in your community. That goes a really, really long way. People want to see you as an authority figure, even outside of real estate. So that is something that I would highly recommend, is just being that spokesperson for your community. Again, we're targeting to your local area. So that is something that will build a lot of familiarity and a lot of trust, especially if they're seeing you say it directly. Be very in tune with your community. It's something Facebook recommends. So engage, educate, and excite. And I did want to just show you a quick, so this is kind of the behind the scenes videos where my mind goes when they say this. So this is something that's gotten really popular. These guys own a dealership. They go around and ask people what they drove, and it's a fun way of engaging your office. So here it is.
Harley, what did you drive to work today?
Well, it's not always about what you drove here, but it's what you're going to drive home.
Ricky, what did you drive to work today?
15 F350.
My 01 Camry.
Ooh.
2011 Nissan Jukester. Let's go.
So that's a really fun way of introducing people who work for you to the Facebook universe. You feel like you know these people a little bit more. You might be a little more inclined to go, take your car there, buy a vehicle from there, just because you've seen the inner workings and kind of how the bread is made at that point. And it's just a fun way to get everybody involved who's working in your office. So tips for posting. Facebook recommends that you keep your captions short. Again, you'll hear us talk about hooks a lot of the time. So they want you to create a brief caption that will capture people's attention right away. So this is where we say, the whole purpose of that first line of whatever you write is to get them to read the second. So we need that good hook in that first line. So that could be something like 3 ways new home buyers can get into a newly built home in 2023, something like that. Something that if I am a new home buyer and I'm scrolling past that, I'll probably stick around to see what your tips are. They really, really want you to keep it short, lead with the most important information. So again, 3 tips for new home buyers. That's something that I know exactly what this video is going to be about. That's the most important thing I need to know leading into that video, is that what I'm about to watch is going to be 3 tips for a new home buyer. And then the next thing is prompt people to act. A lot of times when somebody reaches out to us and says, hey, I'm not getting a lot of messages, it's probably a lot of the time because you're not asking people to message you. So you want to be direct. Don't be afraid to say, message me. In the example they give here is, I have a monthly newsletter, go ahead and sign up. So you can be really, really direct with people and tell them exactly what you want them to do. It's easy to get really wordy. I am very much guilty of it myself. I can write way too much. Again, the whole point is just to have a really clear and concise call to action that's right in front of their face. They know what this content's going to be about. They know what they should do if they want to learn more. You don't have to make it too complicated. And then they really want you to use hashtags on Instagram, which is great. This is kind of more speaking towards organic stuff. I would absolutely use hashtags on Instagram, not on Facebook. But we are doing, all the targeting for you already. This is kind of a way to, if you weren't using paid social, hashtags are a great way to get in front of people that you maybe wouldn't have been in front of otherwise. So on Instagram, I would definitely recommend using hashtags. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a great habit. And what we always do is basically just keep them somewhere in a document so you can copy and paste them whenever you're putting up a post. But when it goes to Facebook, you would want to remove, if you've got 20 hashtags, it doesn't really do as well on Facebook. So I would recommend going to Facebook and getting rid of those hashtags. And then the next thing that they tell you to do is create striking visuals. So most of your phones and most of the tech that you guys shoot on will be perfectly fine for any kind of content you want to create, but there are a few things obviously that you can do to make it maybe a little more professional looking. So really what they say here is, you can use your phone, but you could do things like, put it on a tripod. That does help a lot. Really work on like the natural lighting. It's some small things you can do to make it look a little bit professional. But again, we're not striving to be perfect. People want to see that we're genuine. And so a lot of times you can just get away with using your phone for really any content you do, especially when it comes to shooting homes or taking videos of yourself. You can really do that from your laptop or your phone, anything like that. The one thing I really love to keep in mind is the rule of thirds. So if you're using your phone, you can set, whether it's iPhone, Android, anything, you can put grid lines into your camera. It's a good way to kind of keep things to scale and in the right perspective. So what they recommend is just putting the most important parts where the grid lines cross. So if I'm trying to draw attention to something, that's where I would put that grid line. This is just a really, really great rule of thumb when you're posting content, whether that be a video or a static image. Both things will be important to kind of use that rule of thirds, and then try different angles. I'm sure a lot of when you're shooting houses, some angles look better than others. So just experiment with that. If you're shooting a video just like this, it's not dire that you use a bunch of different angles. But if you're going into a home and shooting a home, definitely try a bunch of different things. You'll kind of find your way with that and start to find something that you like to do. And kind of starts to be your own style of how you do things, and it makes it easier down the road. This, I think, is the most important point that they have on this. Designing your videos for the sound being on or off is extremely important. I don't know about you guys, but most of the time when I watch something on Facebook, I do not watch or listen to with sound on at all. And so if there are no captions really that tell me what's happening, I'll probably scroll past it, especially if if you have a video, again, of those 3 tips, something like that. I would definitely put where it says, find the best shrub for your space, put 3 tips all new home buyers should see. That is telling me, again, exactly what that video is. So even if I don't look at the caption, I would open it with something like that and then put captions over the top of yourself speaking. So you can just let Facebook do their auto captions. That works great. There's also some other programs you can use to make them a little bit bigger, which is what I like to see. Those typically do a little bit better on Instagram, and really just make it so that the watcher truly does not have to listen with any sound on, and they'll take just as much away from the video as if they heard every word you said. This is something that's really, really important. Probably if you've met with me, you've heard me say this, that yes, we want to tell people exactly what we're saying with the sound on or off. It doesn't matter. And Facebook definitely rewards that. And then the last thing is just to shoot for mobile. Most people will see what you're posting on their phone. So it's got to be mobile friendly. So basically, it just needs to be optimized to be seen vertically. So again, take that away, you can make a little bit better studio in wherever space you are, but shooting on your phone is going to be just fine most of the time. Use the rule of thirds. If you don't have these grid lines in, I would highly recommend adding them to your phone if you shoot a lot off your phone. Trying different angles, super important. You never know what's going to look best until you try it. So especially when you're shooting homes, I would definitely recommend a few different angles, a few different lighting options. You can always delete pictures. Sometimes it's a pain in the butt to go back and get more. Design your videos for sound on and off, sound on and sound off. This is huge. If you take anything away from this, I really hope this is one of the points. This is super important. And then lastly, again, another really important one is shooting for mobile. Everybody watches your stuff on mobile. Everybody's constantly on their phones. So that's what it needs to be geared towards. And so the last thing that I want to show you is Facebook has this cool content planning template, which we will throw under files on the page. You can use this. It works okay. There's also a bunch of other programs, such as like Later is a really good one, where you can plan out your content. So if you want to start having weekly segments, that's Tuesday tips, whatever that may be, it's really great to plan those out in advance, just so you're not kind of flying by the seat of your pants the entire time. It also can help you kind of think through your captions, maybe think through your content a little bit if you're doing it ahead of time. And then when the day comes for that to be posted, you don't have to worry about it. So that is Facebook's tips on how to make better content. They know what's best. They've got hundreds and hundreds of data points. And I guess one last thing I would leave you with is really think of who you're wanting to be in front of when you're making your content.